mist coming in, like something's a-brewin' and about to begin. Can't put my finger on what lies in store, but I fear what's to happen all happened before. Scorpio Ascendant is a brand new service where you can go and get a full astrological reading using evolutionary and tropical astrology, focusing mostly on your spiritual and emotional well-being. With a consultation, we can identify painful areas and major challenges of your life and coach you through any struggles that you may encounter in the future. If you're interested in more details, I definitely encourage you to go check out our website and Facebook link that I've provided below. Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Scorpio Ascendant. I'm your astrologer, Blake James, and here with me, as always, is Moon.
Hiya. You alright, Petal?
This is a very special episode because we will be talking about the full moon in Libra, which means we will be ushering in the first true day of spring.
At last.
I know, winter seems like it goes on forever, doesn't it?
What makes it so special, other than being the true mark of spring?
Well, first of all, astrology gives us the seasons and everything in our natural world and environment. And Libra is in the air sign, the first of the air signs. And the air and fire signs represent temperature. And the earth and water signs represent structure. Fire symbolizing heat and air symbolizing the cold. Earth symbolizing solid and water symbolizing liquid. So when the sun moves into the first fire sign of Aries, that marks the start of a new sun cycle. Aries is not only the first fire sign, but also the first zodiac sign. You see, there are 12 parts to a sun cycle, and the year is also divided into 12 parts. A sun cycle is really just an astrological way of saying a year. So when the sun goes into Aries, this is known as the first day of spring, the vernal equinox. The birth of the new sun, the real New Year's Day.
Happy New Year. Sanjava.
Happy New Year, Moon.
What about me? Full moon in Libra?
Well, this is where nature gets even cooler, no pun intended. When the moon is here in her new phase, that means she is starting a new project. In her full phase, she takes that new project to the highest that she can bring it. At this point, the project can't grow any bigger or improve any greater. It's at its fullest potential, the pinnacle. After the full moon phase, it slowly starts to be put to an end before starting new again in 6 months. We call this the waning period. It is a process of death and rebirth. So with Libra, like I said earlier, air signs represent the cold air.
So after this full moon, the cold air will start to go away and come back again in 6 months.
Exactly. It won't start a new cold air cycle again until after the autumn equinox occurs.
So what does this mean for nature here on Earth?
Well, if you're lucky enough, like me, to live on or near the 45th parallel in the northern hemisphere, you'll definitely have already noticed the coming of spring. When the moon is full in Libra, that means that it opposes the sun in Aries. Since the sun rules the daytime, he's making the days much warmer in his new fire sign. He's thawing the ground that's been frozen all winter. Now for the moon, she rules the nighttime. Since she's in Libra in a cold air sign, the evenings are still cool. This is a very magical time for the trees, as their sap is perfect for tapping right now. The moon keeps it nice and cool at night so it doesn't sweat out. But during the day, the heat from the new sun in Aries helps it thaw out its glorious sap, and therefore is easy to tap and harvest. Much like the soil in the ground, the soil will be ready after this full moon to start planting and fertilizing the ground.
So the cold air is setting then?
Yes, like the sun, the air also rises and sets. The sun always wakes up in the east and goes to bed in the west. But since air is opposite to the sun, the air wakes up in the west and blows through the night and goes to bed in the east. So Aries represents east, and Libra represents the west.
Like Mary Poppins in the springtime.
Right, like Mary Poppins. The wind is changing. It's going to bed. The cold air is dying, and throughout the spring, it will slowly transform to warm air.
What about Easter? Some say the full moon in the springtime has something to do with Easter.
Yes. So in the Jewish religion, they celebrate something called Passover. Passover always happens on the first full moon of the year.
And when I say year, again, I mean the real year, not the year that begins on January 1st, like it says on our calendars, but the year starting on the first day of spring, the true New Year, which was the 20th of March this year. So Passover is a celebration of the nature of the moon changing and the wind dying and becoming warm again. In Christianity, this is also known as the Last Supper. They celebrated the full moon by having a feast. Virgo is a sign that comes before Libra. Virgo is the last earth sign, earth representing food and physical objects, hence the Last Supper. Then the next zodiacal ecliptic belt that runs across the earth. Libra represents the last stage of life, marriage, and procreation. The sign after Libra is Scorpio, which is a stage in life of transformation and metamorphosis, having children, pregnancies, and giving birth. The sign after this is Sagittarius, which is in the stage of life represented by optimism and where our spirits rise, the resurrection. The next sign is Capricorn, which is the stage in life that represents high achievements, fame, recognition, and being worshipped. This is why Easter is usually celebrated after the full moon, because Easter is celebrating the resurrection and Passover is celebrating the Last Supper.
So, I'm Jesus? Well, Jesus represents both the moon and the sun in the Christian faith. Easter is a story about the moon dying and being reborn. Christmas is a story about the sun dying and being reborn.
Ah, I see. So most faiths are based on nature, it seems.
Absolutely they are. It's a celebration of the cycle of life here on Earth, the worship of Mother Nature and the environment, the seasons. And that's what tropical astrology really is. It is an ancient study of the seasons. It's so beautiful. That's why it really makes me laugh when the religious followers and the modern scientists argue, because they both essentially believe in the same things.
But neither of them are keen on astrology either?
Yes, well, most of them in each camp tend to think astrology is nuts. But I mean, really, like I'm explaining today, it's all the same story, just told in different ways.
Thank you for explaining all that.
Well, I certainly hope it sheds some light on how we perceive the cycle of the moon.
I think so.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Cheers.